Good evening. For those of you in the audience who have not attended one of these hearings recently, let me review our normal procedure. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you'd like to speak, please fill out the speaker form located on the table in the lobby and indicate the item number and whether you are for or against the item, and please give the form to the clerk seated on my left. The applicant and supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. Then the applicant will be given a chance for rebuttal, if necessary. Comments should be restricted to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion. If you're an individual, you will have 3 minutes for comments. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, you will have 6 minutes for comments. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Speakers should identify themselves clearly for the record by stating their name and address. Each speaker should be given respectful and courteous attention. Information such as pictures, site plans, letters, etc., presented at a public hearing will be kept as part of the public record. If you have something on your cell phone you'd like to show us, we would love to see it, but you have to promise to send it to staff after the hearing, otherwise they have to keep your cell phone. Up to you. I would then ask for a motion from the board. Once a motion has been made and seconded, discussion will be closed to the floor. Following board discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 15 days, file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners through the Planning and Development Division of the Development Services Department. Okay, we're ready for our first item.
Good evening, Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. Item number 1 is a variance request for 2643 Hinoki Cypress Place, located in the Cadence Park subdivision. The request is for an east side street setback reduction from 15 feet to 8 feet for a privacy fence in the Cadence Park plan development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Hinoki Cypress Place. The Monterey Cypress Trail side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot privacy fence 7 feet into the 15-foot side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is approximately 8 feet from the sidewalk and 18 feet from the edge of pavement. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a utility easement, and that building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, sir.
Yes, is there anything you would like to add to the staff comments?
No.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Actually, I do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we do, so if you please come forward. Please state your name and address.
Afzal Bashir, 2643 Hinoki Cypress Place, Sanford, Florida, 32773.
Okay.
So I had a question, going off the pictures over here, it looks like it's a new, is this a new development, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then how much, is it all built out already pretty much, or are you one of the first houses that was built in this
That's the
area?
last house in this community as of right now. They have one more space, they're going to build it later on, but that was the last unit in that one that I bought it. But from this way, can I show you from here? They're building a phase 2.
Okay,
So they're building the whole this site with some other new houses, the same community.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hathaway?
Mr. Bashir, I'm going to ask a question, and it might sound adversarial, and I don't mean to be, and I apologize.
No
But
problem, sir.
there, under the Land Development Code, there are 6 criteria that we have to consider, and B is the one that basically says that the remedy you're seeking to correct can't be caused by you. And in this instance, I'm thinking these things existed, you knew they existed, and you bought the property.
No, sir, I built that.
I'm sorry?
I built this house.
Yes, sir. But I'm saying all the playground and the permits for that development were already approved, and then you bought the property knowing that was there. And so I'm hoping you can help me kind of get around that question that asks that the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant.
I have I might be correct.
Yes, sir.
I might understand you correct or wrong, but I will answer you. When I bought the house, I was not aware that I cannot put a fence there. You understand? Not a developer, nobody told me about this thing. Once I went there, my neighbor was building a fence around his house, and he was want me to contribute with him, you understand? And I was like, okay, when I put it mine, then we do it all together, and I contribute on his side, because we both are neighbor. I don't want to be a bad kind of neighbor to him, so I help him out to, we have a fence in that side. Without knowing that 1K, I'm not going to be able to do it. When the guys comes in, we submit the application, that time we get to know that we need to file for a variance, and we need to ask a permission from you guys. At that time, I don't know, sir.
Yes, sir. Last question. When you were purchasing it, did anybody, a realtor or someone representing this neighborhood, tell you that you could build a fence the way you want to?
Nobody tell me. And
Sir.
basically, I went to buy the house. I was buying their model home. The price doesn't work out. The lady, she called me. After a few days, he says, okay, we open one last house in this community. And if you want to do it, you need to come earlier, because they see me, I was so much interested in that one. So they put me on a priority, and we just give them a check, and we did it. We don't know about the fence. I never put in my other house either. So I never go through all these things, you know.
I got you. Thank you, sir.
No problem, sir.
Mr. Bashir, you said that no one had told you, but did you ask?
Sir, it was not in my mind. At least I thought it's easy to put the fence, and actually, the reason is that it's okay for me to, like, I was not too much about that one. I thought it's an easy process. We can put the fence around our house, because I see other houses, they have a fence. My issue is not only just because I need a fence to have a security purpose.
Of course.
My son is an autistic child, like 4.5 years, and he wants to go out, and sometimes he open the door and run away. You understand? You can see, I'm very next to the street. If he go there and stuff like that, it create issues for me, you understand? So that's why we have a one pool door, then it's going to be another fence door, which will help him out to not to go outside. And I'm not going to put this side any door. I'm going to put a door on the other side too, so we have open, not too many space, he can walk out from there.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the staff.
Go
For
ahead.
staff. Are you guys showing anything else in the neighborhood for any other grants or permits for variances?
I didn't specifically look, but I do know that there have been a couple of variance requests for this neighborhood that have come before us
And do you know the
on the corner
the
lots.
conclusion of those?
I didn't check.
Thank you.
I'll get the answer for you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
also a question for staff. Hillary, Kathy, can you pull up the survey real quick? Just, I know the variance, the way it's written, it's asking for an 8-foot setback.
I didn't
Right.
realize that I sit down there. I'll be back. Yes, sir.
Oh, he's talking to staff.
Oh, I thought.
No, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Sorry.
okay.
But the top left corner of the survey has a curve in it, so that the variance would actually be more than 8 foot in that curved area. Do we care? Is there anything we need to spell out specifically so that he doesn't have to follow the curve at 8 foot?
It would be 8 feet. I just had a difficult time doing it with the red, but I spoke with the contractor and I advised him of that it would be 8 feet at the closest point, and he understood that.
Okay. So graphically, but they do follow the curve at that point?
Right.
8 foot, okay. I just want to make sure we didn't have to change our verbiage in our denial or acceptance with
It
it.
would be 8 feet at the closest point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
We have had 2 fence variances granted last year in 2022, and both of them were from 15 feet to 7 feet.
Thank you.
From 15 to what?
7.
7?
In this development?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Motion to approve, sir.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Going once.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Aye. All right, motion carries 3-2. It's approved. All right, next item. Good luck, sir.
For the record, Angie Gates with Planning and Development. Item number 2 is a request for a front yard setback variance from 50 feet to 31 feet for an addition in the A1 Agricultural District located in the Sanford Celery Delta subdivision at 3912 Kentucky Street. The proposed addition will be 1,430 square feet and will project 19 feet into the required front yard setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
being that there's no prior variances, so the house is non-conforming the way it's the existing home?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add to staff comments? You don't have to. It's up to you.
I do
If you guys wish to come up, we have somebody who speaks
Sure.
English. It's up to you if you have any additional questions.
All right.
decir aquí, sí, yo le puedo decir, sí, mi esposo sabe. Pueden venir porque
Okay. Let's start off with the name and address.
tiene que decir cuál es su nombre
Kenia Álvarez,
y su nombre,
my husband,
Héctor Oyuela,
la dirección, the address, la dirección.
estamos aplicando para
Sí.
varias.
Sí.
3912 Kentucky Street.
3912 Kentucky Street.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anything they would like to tell us?
¿Hay algo que tengan que decir?
Sí.
¿Qué?
Cuando compramos la propiedad,
When they bought the property, ¿me lo puedes decir?
the listing agent, ¿cómo se dice?
¿La qué?
La gente.
La
The
gen-
listing agent, sí.
Ujú. La gente.
Pues apareció, nos mostró el papel que decía 0.4 acres.
Okay. The agent, when they show the property, it only shows 0.40 acres.
0.39.
39.
So, yeah.
0.39. Okay.
El lote era grande, eso nos llevó a comprar la propiedad.
Okay.
Y luego, pues, al mirar que la casa como estaba diseñada, pues pensamos en quedarla para nosotros y modificarla, hacerla más grande.
So because of the realtor said that it was a big enough property for their needs, they thought that they were going to buy that property for them and keep them so they can modify it and do it however, they wanna. Okay, ¿qué? ¿Eso es todo? ¿O qué? No tienen que decir más nada si no quieren. ¿Eso sería todo?
pero tiene que decir todo lo que
Y aplicamos para hacerla grande y nosotros no sabíamos el setback anterior, si no hubiésemos movido a hacer eso. Y aparte tenemos los planos, compré muchos materiales para la casa como está. Y no sé.
Ya la inversión está bien.
So, ¿ustedes no sabían que tenía la casa el permiso? ¿No sabía que la casa... ¿Cuál es el problema con la casa que no sabía?
Que, bueno, nos damos cuenta de que nosotros no sabíamos que se habían tomado 25 pies de la parte de enfrente.
Toda la ciudad.
O no sé quién, la ciudad county o no sé quién.
The city? So they're saying that apparently in the front of the house, they don't know if the county, they took 25 feet. I'm not sure. So they didn't know. But they're, ¿algo más?
Con eso en mente nosotros compramos y pensamos expandirle para los lados, nada de enfrente. O sea,
Okay. Pero ustedes lo están haciendo en la parte de atrás.
a la parte de atrás y al lado, con el
Sí.
otro garaje.
Okay.
So, cuando el contractor llenó para los permisos nuevos de la nueva casa, dice que el setback de frente no es lo
It's not confirming.
yeah. Pero nosotros estamos moviéndonos más para adelante, sino que manteniendo la misma línea de la pared.
So they didn't know that somebody, the city, took the front, they're just trying to add to the back so they can do...
Right, I see it on the survey, it's 25 feet for the road right away in the front.
Okay.
Okay.
Sí. ¿Algo más que decir? That's it. Okay, they don't have anything else to say. Any
Okay.
questions?
That is one question. So they're just wanting to bring the front of the addition even with the front of the house? That's where the red box shows.
Yes, in the
Okay.
back, yeah.
Yes. Right, the back's not an issue for us. The side's not an issue for us. They're within the setback.
Yeah.
It's just the front. So they're
Pretty
just trying to
much,
come
yeah.
pretty much to the front of the
Yeah.
existing house where the house already is.
Right.
Okay. Any questions for the applicants?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Have you spoken to any of your neighbors about this project?
¿Usted ha hablado con algún vecino sobre la adición?
No.
No, they haven't.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? All right, gracias.
Okay, eso sería todo.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for
Oh, yes.
staff before
Go
we
ahead.
continue. Could you shed any light on how this house currently lies 31.7 feet, has a 31.7-foot setback when 50-foot setback is the minimum allowed? Was there a taking by the county?
Non-conforming.
Right away?
It's not
Or-
conforming.
The thing is that when the house was built.
Right.
If the house is built prior to us adopting our code,
Okay.
so what we call it, it's legal non-conforming. But it means anything they do additional has to meet the current setbacks.
It's just an old house. Got it.
It is very unusual, but it doesn't come up.
You'll find there's a fair amount of houses in the rural section like that in that area. It was probably a one-lane dirt road originally, and they built a road and took it. Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Considering this is ag land and considering the rapidly changing nature of that area out by the airport and the ball fields, I'd move to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. It's approved. All right. Next item.
Item number 3 is a request for a side yard west setback variance from 10 feet to 5 feet for an addition in the R1 AAA Single Family Dwelling District in the North Ridge subdivision located at 1361 South Ridge Lake Circle. The proposed addition will be approximately 260 square feet and will encroach 5 feet into the required side yard west setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Is this being built on the existing pad or footprint?
Yes, there's an existing, according to their survey, screen room there. It's not going to enlarge the footprint, but since I can't tell you if it's legal non-conforming because we can't go back that far with building permits.
But they're not any new concrete or?
Right, no, there aren't, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add?
Unless there's any specific questions.
Y'all have any questions for the applicant? Okay, we're good. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Good luck, it's approved. All right, next item?
Item number 4 is a request for a side street west setback variance from 25 feet to 5 feet for a fence in the R1 Single Family Dwelling District and the Woodcrest Unit 1 subdivision located at 7410 East Antietam Court. The subject property is a corner lot and considered to have 2 front yard setbacks. The front of the house faces East Antietam Court, and North Woodcrest Drive side is where the variance is being sought. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. And the privacy fence will be 5 feet from the sidewalk and 16 feet from the edge of the pavement. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property, and that concludes my presentation.
All right, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Would you go ahead and come on, excuse me, come forward? Try not to cough, but it's escaping me. Good evening. Please state your name and address.
It's 7410 Antietam Court East, Winter Park. My name is Tiziana.
Okay. Okay. Why 5 feet off the sidewalk?
Porque 5 pies. Pues 5 pies para adentro. Pues eso es lo que nos recomendaron.
That was their recommendation that they give her.
The contractor? So it's based only because the contractor suggested it? She doesn't really have a need driving it? I'm trying to understand the placement. Because I see a fence back by the corner of the house that's
¿No
conforming.
tiene alguna razón como privacidad o algo así que ellos te hayan dicho que los 5 pies sean los necesarios?
Es para, creo que para dejarlo a las,
¿A la acera?
walking, sí.
¿A la acera?
Es para, queremos hacer una cancha de soccer para los niños.
They're just trying to do like a soccer, like a small field in the back, so they're trying to get the space for it.
Okay,
Una pequeña.
Sí.
I got you. Let me ask her this, first of all. Is there anything she would like to tell us?
¿Hay algo que le tenga que decir a ella?
No, por favor.
No.
Okay, is there any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Eso sería todo.
Thank you.
No te preocupes. ¿El papel?
No,
¿Eso tú?
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, a question for staff.
Yes.
I see as supporting material for this application, many photos from the neighborhood of fences from other property owners that encroach a lot closer than the allowed 25 feet. Do we have any records for variances that were issued to these property owners for these fences in question?
The fences that were submitted in the photos, I didn't have addresses to look at those specific addresses to see if they were, some of them wouldn't require variances because they're open, but I couldn't find any variances in the immediate area for the corner lots.
Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
So do we have a motion?
Motion to deny, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion to deny, we have a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion to deny, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The request is denied. Would you please explain to her she has 15 days to appeal our decision? Thank you. Okay, next item.
Item number 5 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 10 feet to 6 feet for a spa in the PD Plan Development District in the Springs Whispering Pines Section 1 subdivision located at 121 Woodmill Road. The spa will encroach 4 feet into the required rear yard setback. They have received the homeowners association approval for the proposed spa location. Letters of support were received from 4 of the adjacent neighbors. No encroachment is permitted into the 6-foot utility easement. The rear of the property abuts a 44-foot green belt utility easement, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. This concludes my presentation.
That's a unique layout. If I'm understanding the survey correctly, the one side of the house is flat against the property line, and the other side has 5 feet.
It might be townhomes. I'm not sure.
It feels almost the
Or
entire
0
property.
foot where they're connected, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's a swim spa.
It's the springs, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair, this is my neighborhood where I'm actually a board member, but I have no financial, no fiduciary contents with this at all.
Thank you. Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to tell us? If so, I need you to come forward.
Not unless you have any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions? We do have a question, so I need somebody to come forward.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's his day to be difficult.
Day?
Right?
Kind.
Please state your name and address.
Andrea Cochran, 121 Woodmill Road, Longwood, Florida, 32779.
All right, sir?
I changed my mind. No. Am I looking at the maps correctly, that the only thing behind your house is Springs Boulevard?
Yes, that's correct. Well, there is a large green belt, as she'd mentioned, it's 44 feet from our back fence to the sidewalk.
Gotcha.
And
Thank you.
yes, it is a townhome, or they call them cluster homes specifically, but we do share one wall with our neighbor.
Right, that's it. I was looking at it, we don't see that very often.
Yeah.
That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
All right, any other questions for the applicant while they're up? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 6 is a request for a side yard north setback variance from 10 feet to 1 foot for a boat dock in the R1 Single Family Dwelling District in the McNeil's Orange Villa subdivision located at 10032 Bear Lake Road. The existing boat dock was built without a building permit prior to the applicant purchasing the home in 2020. One letter of support was received from the neighbor located at 1628 Bear Lake Road. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add? We have any questions for the applicants? Okay, is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved, a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 7 is a variance request for 1337 Franklin Street located in the San Lando subdivision. The request is for an east side yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 5 feet for a shed in the R1 AA zoning district. The request is to construct a 10-foot by 20-foot shed encroaching 5 feet into the east side yard setback. 2 letters of support have been received from adjacent property owners, one of which is an affected neighbor to the rear. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
on the site plan, I just want to be clear that some of the notes that were on here talk about the setbacks, 5 feet from the side, 10 foot from the rear, but then there's that note that says add plumbing to tie a toilet into the septic. This is a shed, right? There's no bathroom being put in it?
There could be. We don't necessarily, in hobby sheds, some people put toilets in it.
Going back in my memory, that we were in a meeting not long ago, and I asked that question, and in this county, bathrooms are prohibited from
That's my
accessory
recollection, that's why I'm asking the question.
Except for accessory dwelling structures and agricultural. Am I correct on that?
Oh, I remember. This one, she was originally going to have it as a home office, and then I let her know that it couldn't be.
Okay.
So then she decided to change it and convert it into a storage shed. So I must not have just taken that off of the plan.
Okay.
I apologize.
All right, I just make,
But we can put additional condition.
right.
I think I did in the development order.
Conditioning in a toilet.
So this is the first time
The
you got this?
plumbing.
This is the first time, it's just we had something previous. It was a Connex.
I'm actually, my father had, up in Georgia, had a shed with a bathroom in it, which was really nice because it was a big property. I'm not opposed to it, but we don't allow it here. I just remember it. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Hi, is there anything you would like to add?
Not unless you guys have any questions.
Do we have any questions? Okay. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
I move to approve, Mr. Chair,
Would you like to place
with
the
the condition that the plumbing is taken off of the,
There's no plumbing allowed in the shed.
correct, sir.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It's approved. Good luck.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right, next item.
Item number 8 is a variance request for 1790 Pasture Loop located in the Parkdale Place subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 7.5 feet to 5 feet for a swimming pool in the East Red Bug planned development. The request is to construct an 11-foot by 36-foot swimming pool 2.5 feet into the required 7.5-foot rear yard setback. The property abuts a retention pond in the rear. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to add? Do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve?
Second?
Motion to approve a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. It's approved. Good luck to you. All right, next item.
Item number 9 is a variance request for 7561 Brightwater Place located in the Kenmere subdivision. The request is for a west side street setback reduction from 20 feet to 11.5 feet for a privacy fence in the Kenmere planned development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Brightwater Place. The Water Creek Way side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence 8.5 feet into the 20-foot side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is 11.7 feet from the sidewalk and 21.7 feet from the edge of pavement. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. A letter of support was received from the rear affected neighbor and was provided to the board for their consideration. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, there's an existing fence there. Is that in the same location?
Is it a fence?
It looks like it might be a hedge.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
a,
I think it's a
I think it's a
hedge.
hedge.
is that a hedge? It's a thin line, so. Okay. I see. All right. Any questions for staff? Okay. Is the applicant present or the applicant's representative? I knew you couldn't miss
Hey,
a
it's been
meeting.
2 months.
Please state your name and address.
It's Maria with On the Lane Fax, 600 Northern Way, Winter Springs. So this particular customer, I'm not going past, the neighbor is way past where I'm going. I just need enough room to put a gate, because if you look at the other side, it's full of hedges, pool pump equipment, everything. And if I put it against where the regulation, where the code is, I would be right into the lanai. So that's really the only place for me to put a gate. And there's also a landscape buffer already there, so you're not even really going to see it.
So I was going to ask you that. So is it going to be on the inside of the hedge?
Yes, it is.
And the hedge is remaining?
Yes.
So we don't see the fence?
Yes.
that's-
Yeah.
that's easy.
So it's completely hidden. I think Mr. Hadaway would like it, actually. It's really nice.
I don't know, he comes from a tough line.
It's his world, we just live in it.
Yeah, right?
All right, do we have any questions for the applicant's representative?
You just answered him, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Put that on the calendar. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Good luck to you. See you next month, I'm sure. I'm going into the fencing business when I retire. It must be good. All right. Next item.
Item number 10 is a variance request for 1817 Lakelet Loop, located in the Regency Estates subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 20 feet to 14.5 feet for a screen room addition in the Mickler Chaplin planned development. The request is to construct a 10-foot by 23-foot screen room addition encroaching 5.5 feet into the required 20-foot rear yard setback. The property abuts a retention pond in the rear. The homeowners association has approved the request to construct a screen room addition. 2 letters of support were received from adjacent property owners. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add? I would. Come on down. Please state your name and address. When did you get up to the microphone?
Oh, yes.
My name is Brian Dorian, 2938 Stonewall Place, Sanford, Florida. I'm speaking on behalf of Rafael Suarez and his wife, Yang. They purchased this home a few years ago, and this screen room existed. This screen room is 3 feet by 15 feet. They have a chair in there, too small for practical use. The neighbor behind them, which you can see, built a room legally. Their lot is larger, and they were able to build the room without a variance. This customer called and said, we would like the same room, 10 by 23, that the neighbor has. And when I pulled it, their lot, the way the lot angles in front of the lake, there's a retaining wall, and they're too close to the property line. So we're asking for 14.5 feet in lieu of 20 feet. The homeowner is, there's a language barrier, so I'm here representing them.
Okay.
That's it. Oh, and we did receive, I think she mentioned it, letters of approval from both neighbors, including the one that has the screen porch on the other side, existing screen porch.
Do we have any questions for the applicant's representative? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. It's approved. Good luck. 3 feet is very tight.
It is. I was shocked when I walked in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like, what's the point?
Yeah. Next item?
Item number 11 is a variance request for 109 Bravado Court located in the Estes Tuscaloosa subdivision. The request is for a west side yard setback reduction from 7.5 feet to 6 feet for an addition in the R1 zoning district. The request is to convert an existing 38.3 foot by 22.6 foot carport into a bedroom and bathroom addition, 1.5 feet into the required 7.5 foot front yard setback. This concludes my presentation. Did I say front yard? I meant to say side yard. Very sorry.
Okay.
This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
All right. Any questions for staff? Is it still that wooded out there? As far as we know? I mean, it looks like there's nothing next to it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add?
Unless you have a question?
All right, any questions for the applicant? All right. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Good luck. All right, next thing, minutes. They were emailed. I saw them. Any additions, changes, deletions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, Chris Kringle was, no, I'm just kidding. He looks better shaved.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
But I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second?
we have a motion, we have a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries, they're approved. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, have a good night.
I missed the jacket. Did we get that in December again?
Got to keep you guessing, man.
Meeting
All